cold sweat in the air. Helmet cracks like a thunderous snare. Bodies collide, dreams take flight. I'm under the glow of stadium lights. It's chaos, it's wild, it's all that we need. The slap of the meat, the hunger, the speed. Slapping meat, grit, iron, hearts on fire. Breaking bones, chasing desire. Touchdown strings, a war zone choir. Slapping meat, grit, iron, hearts on fire. Trash talk flies like confetti in wind. A battle of wills, a game to the end. Hail Mary prayers, soaring through skies. The roar of the crowd, the echo of cries. It's brutal, it's raw, it's all we believe. The slap of the meat, the fight to achieve. The slapping meat, grit, iron, hearts on fire. Breaking bones, chasing desire. Touchdown strings, a war zone choir. Slapping meat, grit, iron, hearts on fire. Trash talk flies like confetti in wind. A battle of wills, a game to the end. Hail Mary prayers, soaring through skies. The roar of the crowd, the echo of cries. It's brutal, it's raw, it's all we believe. The slap of the meat, the fight to achieve. Slapping meat, grit, iron, hearts on fire. Breaking bones, chasing desire. Touchdown strings, a war zone choir. Slapping meat, grit, iron, hearts on fire. On fire.
What is good, everybody? It is your boy, WETOODEEP. We are back with Slapping Meat Gridiron, the football podcast, talking all things NFL football here on Slapping Meat Entertainment. Thank you for tuning into episode 2. And this episode is going to be a look at the word dynasty. And more specifically, as seen in the title, the greatest dynasty to ever exist in the NFL. Something that I personally do not believe will ever take place again, as we take a look at what makes the New England Patriots dynasty the most, the greatest dynasty to ever exist in football, in the NFL, and I may even be so bold to say in sports history. And to do that, we have to set the scene. Let's do that. Let's set the scene. It's the year 2000. The Y2K panic is fresh in people's minds. Bill Belichick has just taken over the New England Patriots team. And the franchise, well, at the expense of Patriots fans having a PTSD, let's just say that, well, this franchise wasn't keeping NFL historians up at night. Outside of 2 outlier seasons in 85 and 96, where the Patriots went to the Super Bowl and lost, this team wasn't very successful. And then, in the 6th round, they drafted the skinny kid out of the University of Michigan by the way of the state of California, named Tom Brady, a quarterback whom many didn't see being much of anything in the NFL. And to be honest, if you paid attention to his combine tape, the guy looked like he would get winded just jogging out of the tunnel. And it just so happened that this man would go on to become the single biggest nightmare for NFL defenses for the next 2 decades. From 2001 to 2019, the New England Patriots turned the AFC East into their personal playground. 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 of those being victories, and 17 AFC East division championships in 19 seasons. Oh, by the way, one of those was 2008 when Tom Brady went out in Week 1, and the second of those was, I think, Brady's last year, when Josh Allen led the led the Bills, to now we got to go and now we got to figure out what well, yeah, I know 2008 we didn't win it. It doesn't necessarily matter who won it, and what years it was, but it is something that I am interested in. So, yeah, 2008, the Dolphins ended up winning it. That was the year Brady went down in Week 1. And the other year was 2002, when the Jets won it at a 9-7 record, and the Patriots, beginning of the dynasty, post winning the Super Bowl, right? So 17 of 19, with the 2 that they lost being very early, within the first 8 years of the dynasty's run. We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in a row. Let's be real. The AFC East, that was preseason for the most part. There wasn't much competition. The Jets, forget about it. The Dolphins, squish them. Squish the fish. And, man, especially these Bills. Bless their hearts, man. They were just there to keep the Patriots warm until January. So now that we've set the scene, right? The question we have to ask is, how does a franchise who for the first 50, 60 years of existence has like 2 great seasons, how do they become the greatest dynasty of all time? And I think the first and most important reason that this happened was the lack of ego on the team. And that starts with Tom Brady. A man who, I would arguably say, became the greatest quarterback of all time. Who consistently, after numerous Super Bowl victories, 3 Super Bowl wins in his first 4 seasons, leading the Patriots, right? Within his first 10 years in the league, he had gone to like 5 Super Bowls. This was a man who, if he wanted to, could have been the highest paid quarterback at the time. But this is a man who consistently took less money, pay cuts, which in today's NFL is like finding a unicorn. It doesn't happen. Quarterbacks today now want every penny they can get, and personally I understand that, but Tom Brady knew that the less money he took, the more money they could give to defensive stars. Because that's the thing, this team was built, and we'll talk about who was on the team in a different part of this episode. But this was a defense-first team. Tom Brady understood that the less money he took, the more that they could put around him. And that leads us to Bill Belichick, the ultimate ego checker. If you came into Foxborough thinking you were special, this man took you and turned you into another cog in the Patriot machine. He called it the Patriot way. And that was the magic of this dynasty for 20 years. The philosophy wasn't me before we. The philosophy was we before me. And if you could not buy into that philosophy, if you couldn't participate fully and buy into the Patriot way, well, you were shown the door without any regret. But here's the thing. New England wasn't even an attractive destination for free agents. I mean, think about it. The prime football playing season is fall through winter, right? And those months are typically colder, not attractive destinations to live in. New England, the state of Massachusetts, having high state income tax, brutal practices, cold weather, a Boston sports media that would turn every sneeze into a headline. Players didn't come to Foxborough to rack up stats, grow their brands, or to get sponsorship deals. You came to Foxborough if you wanted to win. And to survive, you had to check your ego at the door. Compare that to a Miami, a San Francisco, and a Los Angeles, where, especially San Fran, LA, where it's, 60, 70, maybe 80 degrees, nice weather, beaches, Hollywood. That's an attractive sports destination. But Boston? I mean, unless you're some kind of lobster enthusiast, there ain't much for you. Miami? Who wouldn't want to go there? New Orleans? Who wouldn't want to go there? Dallas? Who wouldn't want to go there? But the Patriots? Right? But let's talk about, again, how ruthless this Belichick machine was. I mentioned earlier, if you didn't buy into the Patriot way, or if your salary and what you were asking for didn't fit the books, they were quite ruthless. There wasn't a loyalty. You could be a Pro Bowler, have the best season of your career. You could have just caught the game-winning pass in the Super Bowl. It didn't matter. If Belichick thought your best days were behind you, or that you were asking for too much money, you were gone. Think of guys like Lawyer Malloy, Ty Law, the law firm that held the early years of the Patriots dynasty. Richard Seymour, Wes Welker, most recently someone like Malcolm Butler, who had won the Super Bowl for you against the Seahawks and then gets benched 3 years later against the Eagles in the Super Bowl, never to play that game. Belichick was ruthless. They didn't care about keeping the band together. They didn't care about brands and people. They cared about winning. See, because that's where most dynasties fall apart. This is why they don't last for long. Teams either get too sentimental, or the players start thinking about themselves. And we'll talk about the second portion of that in a minute. But the Patriots didn't get sentimental. They were cold, calculated roster moves that to some of us fans, we didn't quite understand. But come the next season, we weren't talking about that. We were talking about winning football, going to more Super Bowls. And now that we're talking about the roster, here's something I think it's very overlooked when we talk about this 20 years of dominance. Never once did the Patriots have a super team. There wasn't a roster stacked of Pro Bowlers or top of the position group players. Most years you probably had 2 or 3 what we would call superstars. But everyone else was a role player. But the role players knew their jobs, and they did it. And they really didn't complain about much. There was no diva wide receivers demanding 15 targets a game and then whining and reading books on the sideline when it didn't happen. There were no defensive stars holding out or demanding trades because they weren't getting enough sacks or enough money. There was none of that. Compare that to a team that a lot of people are saying could be the next Patriots dynasty, the Philadelphia Eagles, the modern Philadelphia Eagles. This is a team that if you looked at the roster, they have probably the best offensive line with probably the 2 best tackles in football. As the anchors, you have a top 5 quarterback. You have the best running back. You have the best overall receiver in football in A.J. Brown. You have Devontae Smith playing out there, who's a top 10 wide receiver. You have Dallas Goedert, who's a top 5 or 6 tight end. You have a top 5 defense. And you have a super team. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard to keep that together when everyone's going to reach into that bowl of the salary cap. It's going to be really hard to keep that together. But that's for later in the show, right? I want you to compare this Patriots roster, right? This wasn't a super team. But here's another thing. I want to be blatantly honest with how bad the Patriots were at drafting. Watching the NFL draft as a Patriots fan during the years of the dynasty was brutally painful, especially towards the end of Belichick's run. I can't tell you how many busts we had, right? For every Brady, for every Gronk, for every Will Fork, and every Dante Hightower, we got a lot more Chad Jacksons, Dominic Easleys, and N'Keal Harrys. Should we look at some of the people from Belichick's recent drafts, even this year, someone like a Cole Strange who went in the first round on like a 4th round grade could be cut this year. See, most dynasties are built the way that the Detroit Lions are building their team, through the draft. If you look at how the Lions, draft stars like Hutchinson and Jack Campbell, drafting guys like Amon-Ra and Penei Sewell and damn, I can't remember their running back's name. And Jamison Williams, guys like that, right? And well, they don't have Hawkinson anymore. Who the fuck is their tight end? Shit. Apparently names just slipped my mind. Jahmyr Gibbs at running back. Who is their tight end? Sam Laporta, duh. Right? But the Lions are building their team, building a superstar team through the draft. That's typically how a lot of these teams win football. But the Patriots, they relied on late round gems or project players from other teams. The Wes Welkers. I mean, Julian Edelman was a 7th round quarterback who probably wasn't expected to make the team. You got guys like Matt Slater, who spent like 14 years in the league playing special teams. I mean, we're even talking like even the current modern Patriot culture. We're talking about roster spots of guys like Brandon Schooler, who is essentially a special teams ace, and he gets a roster spot in the same similar way as Matt Slater. Like, no one thought ever Matt Slater would ever be cut, because that was the role play that he was put in, right? Yet, this team that wasn't built through the draft still found a way to win football games. So we get to this question. Why do you believe, WETOODEEP, that this can never happen again? So, I believe the league is set up to make sure this doesn't happen again. Think about all the scandals and the hoaxes that was brought against the Patriots during this time. Deflategate, Spygate, all of these things. As a Patriots fan that I had to sit through, your team cheats, your team, that's all come back as, well, no, the league just doesn't like one team dominating for decades. The league needs parity. For those who don't know, the NFL is established in the government as a business of entertainment. It isn't listed as a sports league. It's listed as an entertainment system, right? That is how it's registered as a business, for those who don't know. Meaning, I'm not saying that they do, but meaning they could script the season. Now, I don't believe they are. That would be very hard to do. But they, by definition of the type of business they are, they could. The league needs parity to thrive. You don't think back during this time, if you're an NFL fan, at how annoyed a lot of fans were at the Patriots. Another AFC East win. The Patriots are getting annoying. I mean, in 19 years, there was 9 Super Bowl. There was the AFC Championship game for a long period of time consisted of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or Ben Roethlisberger. And Tom Brady was typically in most of those games. But let's talk about some other reasons. Mainly, contracts. Today's players are me first. Everyone wants the max amount of money that they can get. And again, I don't blame them, but that really makes keeping star players and keeping depth, it really makes that impossible in today's NFL. Roster turnover is going to ramp up as more players want more money. I just mentioned the second one, the league loves parity. They don't want another situation where the Patriots dominate for 2 decades, even among the Chiefs and teams like that. So they structure everything from the scheduling to salary cap rules. Even this discussion on whether or not they should ban the tush push. The play that the Eagles use to win many of their games. The talk to ban this is a talk about parity. You can't do something, you have an advantage, we can't let you have that advantage. So we must ban it. It's one of the reasons why I don't believe another 20-year dynasty can ever happen. The third is, like I mentioned as well earlier, player movement. Roster turnover is constant because we live in an age of Instagram and TikTok where building your own personal brand oftentimes to some of these players mean more than winning games or building a legacy. You follow the money because you don't know how much longer you have in the league. Which again brings me back to Philly. AJ, Devontae, a defense that's crazy. Too many problems, too many stars, too many hands in the pot, not enough money. Now we do have ways around it where you can restructure contracts and push money back, but essentially that's going, like, you're going to end up in a situation where you're going to run out of money still, right? And someone's going to get upset, probably A.J. Brown, and he's going to want to trade. You're going to have a Micah Parsons situation. See, the Patriots never had that problem. Because if you were that problem, you weren't a Patriot. And now I know what some of y'all are saying. What about the Chiefs? I've already heard this. Well, they've gone to 4 straight AFC championship games. Yeah, cool. Mahomes is great. Andy Reid's one of the greatest coaches to ever coach in the NFL. But they haven't done it for 2 decades. That's what separates the Chiefs from the Patriots, is longevity. Now, if the Chiefs can keep this up for 20 years, then we can have the conversation. But I just mentioned I don't think it will ever happen because eventually that team's going to break up. Eventually Mahomes is going to plateau, and they don't have enough stars around him on that team. Eventually Kelsey's going to leave, and that offense is going to go downhill. That may be as early as next season. Right? And then we got these Bills fans. Right? I admire your optimism. I really do. But you've been saying this is our year for... let me check my notes real quick. 1993. You're the NFL's version of the Chicago Cubs prior to 2016. You're lovable. You're competitive. And at the end of the season, you're always perpetually heartbroken. You're not a dynasty. You haven't won nothing. So here's my take. The Patriots by no means were the perfect team. They weren't a drafting machine. They weren't free agent paradise. They really struggled at both of those areas, getting free agents and drafting for a lot of this dynasty. Outside of Randy Moss, I can't think of many free agents that were big sign. I mean, Albert Haynesworth was a big signing that it was a big failure. I can't think of many free agents that were big acquisitions. I mean, Corey Dillon was a project player. Rodney Harrison and Brewski and Vrabel weren't big-name free agents, but ended up being big-name players. Randy Moss was probably the biggest free agent signing in the dynasty that we had. Right? They weren't perfect by any means, but here's what they have, and this is something that I don't think teams have anymore. They had discipline. They had a leader at quarterback willing to sacrifice for the betterment of the team, and they had a coach that could turn practically anyone into a contributor. Now, don't get me wrong. We'll see great teams again. We have 3 of them in the league right now. We have the Chiefs that are great. We have the Eagles that are great. We have the Lions that I think are built for success. We'll see maybe back-to-back champions. I think there's a high potential the Eagles will win another Super Bowl this year. But another 2-decade stretch of dominance? Nah. You can forget about it. That's never going to happen again. And so in conclusion, the New England Patriots were the greatest dynasty to ever exist. And due to many factors around the league today, they are a dynasty that will never be repeated. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where you're watching. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or any of the podcast networks, leave us a review, follow the show, share it with your friends. If you have any suggestions on topics you want me to talk about and give my opinion on, go join the Discord link in the description or show notes. Join the Discord page and leave me a suggestion of topics you would love for me to cover. But until next time, we will see you on the next episode of Slap and Meat Gridiron. I'm WETOODEEP. Y'all have a great rest of your weekend.
The blows were out of time, grinding out on the scrimmage line. The hits, the grip, the fire, the sweat, don't you dare forget.